Hey, good morning, everyone. Is this okay? Is this sound okay? And you can understand the accent, yeah? Excellent. It's a good start for 10. It's actually, before I start, it's really quite refreshing to hear designers talk about a good process. From a contractor perspective, our biggest frustration is that designers don't take this stuff seriously, and then we get a design too late to actually really make a change. So it's just really good what Ian and Emirates are doing in their respective businesses. However, good morning, welcome. It's good to see you here. I hope everyone had a safe journey over. I see some blotchy faces, so I'm guessing a few beers last night, which is always good. Thanks again to Ralph, Emma, Audrey for setting up the event. I think it went really well last year. Looks like it's going to be another good one this year, so excellent. Hopefully I'll be able to share a few pearls of wisdom. I've got too many years industry experience now, I think, something of the order of about 23, a fresh-faced 40-year-old, some would say. Others would say battered dad of 4 who just needs some sleep. Who am I? Colin Bell, Head of Digital Construction at Kier. Only been there about 18 months. I've worked on both sides of the coin, so I worked for a long period of my career in Arup as a structural engineer, but I've been working with BIM process probably for about 18 years, so have got quite a breadth of experience from both sides, I think. Hopefully that'll come through. There is a slight typo on the itinerary today, which said it's a guide to BIM Excellence. It was actually going to be a guide to IM Excellence because it was something a little bit different. What I'll do is, because I think that we've got a little bit of time, I'll filibuster out a little bit and I'll talk about some of the stuff that we're doing with, you guys will call it BIM. In Kier, we now call it digital construction because it's a little bit more than that, but I'll maybe elaborate on that as we go. So I'll kind of through some slides. I think you've got to hold questions till the end, but let's see where we get to. So I've put some things that you might find as we go through. Not going to labour on this too much. And obviously now there's going to be a little bit of time for Brucey bonus BIM Excellence chat, so I think that's going to be pretty good. I think fundamentally what I'd like you to take away is just the importance of information. I know we talk about it all the time. Everybody sort of loses sight of the fact that information is the be-all and end-all of every project. If you don't have the right information, and Ian and Maritz alluded to it at the very, very start of their presentation as well, if you don't have the right information being provided by the right people, fundamentally you've already lost the battle and your project is going to go on a bit of a tailspin. So when I joined Kier, we had a slightly odd approach, I would say, to information management, and my role when I came in was to very much not necessarily break down silos, but it was actually to create some buckets of ownership. And one of the first things that I did was say that within a digital construction sphere, you don't just have BIM roles. What you've actually got is you've got different component parts of the process. So what you get to is you get to a place where you need information management, you need digital construction, you need something around governance and business systems, and then you actually need a little bit around data competency and data literacy. And that was kind of one of the triggers for where we started. And I think, lest we forget, sorry that there's lots and lots of words on this slide, by the way. I didn't mean to do that. It's a pure accident. But I think that people often forget that information management is actually the backbone of BIM, because information isn't just a drawing. It isn't just a specification. Information is a model. It's the geometry. It's the data. It's the metadata that's attached. All that parametric stuff that people take time and effort to put into objects and components within models. We extrapolate that out and we use it because it actually adds value to the way that we manage process, the way that we manage supply chain, and ultimately the way that we go out there and build things. Do you mind if I just grab a quick drink? I wasn't on the beers last night, by the way, but I have got a bit of a bad chest. Yeah, so the mindset of our sort of or the mindset of the driver behind this idea of like 6 steps of attainment is kind of how I've phrased it. And it's all about making sure that you define what you want to do, you implement it in the way that you've said that you're going to do it, and then you have this idea of continual review. And through that continual review process, that's not at the end of every project. There's a real misconception in the industry, I think, that you can only learn at the end. Actually, no, you don't. You learn at any point of contact, any point of pushback. That's an opportunity to take a step back, have a conversation, and make some decisions around what's the thing that we're trying to learn here. What's the thing that we've maybe got wrong that we need to try and fix. Of course, when you go through that review process, you then come up with a list of proposals. These are the things, these are your mitigation strategies. This was a problem. We have these 3 or 4 options. Which is the one that we want to take forward that's going to help us solve the problem? You update your process or your procedure, and then you feed that back to the wider business. And this works now. It works on every project. There's not a time frame against it. We don't expect it to happen every month or every quarter or biannually, anything like that. It's simply at point of resistance, take a step back and make sure that you think about process, make sure you think about the way that we're delivering the project to get some real value out of it. So I've put this slide, this is like a weird slide to have on the screen, but again, if I go back to sort of 16 months ago when I joined Kier, there was actually no defined information management function. What we had some very, very good document controllers sitting in little pockets, normally with doors closed, blinds down, lights off, just with a computer screen, and all they were doing is just churning through information, approving information, checking metadata, pushing things through the CD, with very, very little, I don't want to say respect, but it was very, very little value. There wasn't a lot of onus put on the importance of the job that those people were doing. So one of the biggest challenges actually that I've had in the first sort of 3 to 6 months in Kier was sucking all of those people out in a big vacuum from an administrative function where they formerly sat and dropping them into a nice fresh pool of water with lots and lots of food around them. And that food was things like process, good systems, guidance, support from peers, support from leadership, career pathways, all of the things that kind of you just think are just the norm, but actually they're not, because sometimes that's more difficult than it sounds. And the reason I put this slide in is just to give you an idea of the simplification that we actually went through in terms of the structure of the team. We simply put in place one information manager per region. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware of Kier. We've got sort of 5, 6 different business units. We've got North and Scotland, which you would probably argue is 2 different things, Eastern and Midlands, London, Southern, Western and Wales, and then we have our strategic projects. Now, across those different 6 or 7 businesses, we needed to have consistency. If you don't have consistency, you don't drive any improvement. That's rule 1 of anything that you do as a business. If you try and do things, and these guys alluded to it, having 4 solutions to try and do a coordination process, that's inefficient. And I'll come on to maybe a little later on some of the work that we've done on our concatenation of solutions. But what we tried to do was very much put a single figure, somebody experienced as an information manager, and build a team around them, a team of competent people who wanted to do a job, who wanted respect and they wanted praise and they wanted to be in the right place. And all we wanted to do was say, here's an organogram. It's not fixed. That we have challenges now because we already have people who are pushing that ceiling. They're saying, what's the next step? That's fine. Absolutely. All that tells me is that this is working. We've gone from having a team of maybe 9 or 10 disparate dock controllers to a team of nearly 30 across the regions. Each region's got somewhere of the order of about somewhere between 5 and 8 members of staff or resources within that function. That might sound like we've gone a little bit overkill, but we haven't. We've fundamentally, the most important thing to our clients is that we secure, govern, and validate information on their projects. If we're not doing that with competent people and we don't invest the resources to do so, that's our liability. So, this was a direct challenge or a direct rebuke to that sort of pushback from clients to say, be better, do better. I'm not sure, some of you may have been here last year, and I talked about the way that we address ISO 19650. ISO 19650 is the backbone of everything that we do. We've actually now built, and we had built this time last year, we had built a system called our PLM, our Project Lifecycle Management Tool. Within that, we housed all of the clauses for ISO 19650. Sounds really droll, doesn't it? It's, oh my God. And now you're going to tell me that here's the question, here's the answer. And yeah, that's exactly what we did. We told everybody, if this is the question that's being posed, this is the answer. And more importantly, we went the next step and said, and this is what it means to you. As a design manager, this is what you need to know. As a commercial manager, this is what you need to know. As an information manager or part of the information management team, this is what, and it's really, really odd, the reception you get to that, because you would think culturally there'll be an immediate, why are you telling me how to do my job? But actually, there was a lot of light bulbs going on in the room. And this wasn't me talking about this stuff. This was actually competent people talking about this. This was our information managers going into rooms, going into SLTs, having a conversation about, do you know how important this is to your business? Do you know how important this is to making money? And everybody thinks that's a dirty thing to talk about, but fundamentally we're in this business to make our clients happy, make our people happy, and make money. Ultimately that is why we're here. And if we don't do all three of those things, then you've got a problem in your organization. And I think that just to skip on, we sort of, I'm not going to do that. I'm definitely not going to do that. Hang on a second. This might be a wrong, oh no it's not, sorry, let me just go back. There's a rogue slide in there, we're just going to bypass that. This is some of the resources that, now these are our digital construction team, our BIM team, these are their resources. Against every single one of the clauses in the ISO, where it asks for a mobilization plan, yeah, we've got a template for that. Where it asks for a BEP, yeah, we've got a template for that. Where it asks for a risk assessment, yeah, we've got all of this built into our PLM. And again, it gets you from starting at 0, you actually start from about 40, or you start from about 50, somewhere which is a real baseline of, yeah, we know exactly what we're doing and we know what we're saying we're going to do. And this has been really, really useful for us as well when we go into projects, because lest we forget, BIM, information management, all whilst play a part in project delivery, actually are slightly removed from that process somewhat, because they're always seen as a back-of-house function, back-of-house technical competency. That's not necessarily the case. So the idea here was to flip it and to start sit on site in project and say, this is what this stuff means to you. I'm going to show you how to do it. You know, we're enterprise partners of Revisto. We've got guys walking around now on site who are 65-year-old with a smartphone on the Revisto app, and they're adding stamps and labels into information as they go. Really, really something that you would never have expected 5-10 years ago. Probably they would never have wanted in their lifetime, but it's just really, it's really good for me to see. Sorry, I've got some notes here. You might be able to notice. Our approach to, so we, as a lot of other organisations do, we have a BSI kite mark for our information management approach in accordance with ISO 19650. We had a recent audit, and during that audit, we've actually completely revolutionised the wrong word, we've completely reinvented the way that we use our CDE. Formerly, we were an organisation where we had 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 CDE solutions. We've absolutely concatenated that down now. We've got one solution. Unless a client tells us otherwise, and we will actually push back onto a client to say this is what we should be doing, we use one CDE solution. Please don't ever underestimate the value in having one solution with one folder structure, with one set of workflows, with one set of processes, with clear ownership, clear responsibility. It drives a massive cultural change, and that's probably something that I'm going to talk about a little bit more, is this idea of culture and behaviours, because if you don't have the right culture and you aren't driving the right behaviours, you're not going to improve. What you're going to do is you're going to keep seeing these little peaks of excellence, and then you're just going to drop back down again. You're going to see a peak of excellence, and you're going to drop back down again. And part of our latest BSI audit was a real pat on the back for the team's work that they've done in setting all of this up. Because actually what they said was, we love the structure of the CDE, very clear, can see how it aligns to ISO, but actually all this other stuff that you've done in the last year, where you have all of this guidance now, you have all of these templates, and actually the way that you've onboarded people is a lot different to what we're seeing elsewhere. And that was a huge, that was me saying to the guys, listen, you've done an absolutely bloody brilliant job here. Take a step back, have a pat on the back, and go and have a couple of beers somewhere. When we talk about information and the value of information, I think it's remiss now if we don't talk about the golden thread. Whilst, again, there's a misconception in my eyes that all information for a golden thread, if there's a drawing that is used to build something on site, I believe there's a misconception that all of the information related to that, the audit trail for how it got there, is actually all held in the CDE. That for me is an absolute myth, and it's absolute mumbo jumbo, because where you will find a golden thread is throughout all of your consistent stack of software. So if I take you back in time, 12 months ago maybe, looking at what we had in Kier, 260 odd applications and softwares, a lot of them doing the same thing that these guys were doing, 4, 5, 6 bits of software doing clash detection, 4, 5, 6 bits of software doing quality management, 4, 5, 6 bits of software doing safety. Absolutely blows your mind that somebody didn't just say, guys, should we just use one tool for this? It seems a bit over the top, doesn't it, to pay 6 times to just do it once and do it well and do it consistently. And actually, born out of that consistency, and it's really sad. I mean, you can probably tell I'm from the north of England, Newcastle. It's a desolate place. We get excited about the very, very small things in life, like football teams and the like. But I find simplification quite sexy. I genuinely do. I think that if you can start at the start of a project and you can say, I'm going to go to all of these places along the way, and it's not a straight line. It is it's a squiggly line right the way to the end of a project. But if you know where information sits along that journey and you can get to the end, I guarantee you've got a robust audit trail of what happened at this point on this day at this time by this person, and that is what a golden thread is. That's what a golden thread is to me. Now, I maybe I'm getting that wrong, but that's what I've sold back into the business. So I pretty well hope I'm right. So if you think about all of this stuff as kind of like experiential, we've looked at what we've got. We've taken on board the feedback from our teams. We've taken on board the feedback from our personnel. You then got to sort of flip it and say, okay, if you're going to start and roll the value of information, all of these consistent tools into the business, how the hell do you do that across a team of 6,000 people? That is not easy, and it shouldn't be underestimated that it's not been perfect. But the good thing for me is that I think that we started with the right methodology. We started with the right mindset, which is, this is pretty broken, but actually if we start afresh, we can get to a really good place. And for me, this all started with an assessment almost. This assessment was digital maturity. Now, the stuff on the left-hand side is somewhat insignificant because they're just buckets that we use as part of our digital construction strategy, and we hang a hell of a lot of deliverables off those sort of, this isn't working, is it? No. But off. Those sort of 11 objectives on the second column in, we hang a lot of deliverables off each of those probably got 10 or 11 things where we're delivering different value back to the business. And what we did about December last year was we said, okay, construction team, where do you think we are against all of the stuff that we're talking about? And they gave us some really savage but valuable feedback. I always believe that negative and constructive feedback is better than praise, because if you're getting praise, people probably don't understand because they're not going to challenge you in the right way. What you want is pushback to say, I like this, but why doesn't it do this? Why doesn't it help with that? Why isn't it doing this? And that's actually how you evolve a software stack. That's how you evolve maturity. And what we did was we took all of the responses that we got, and we've then set ourselves little sprints over the next 2 years to get to a differing level of maturity. And I think the really good thing for me is that let's take Revisto as a tool, because everyone loves Revisto. So I would consider Revisto to be a 9 out of 10 tool. And what I mean by 9 out of 10 is the capability of the solution is a 9 out of 10. It doesn't do absolutely everything, sorry. It probably does a hell of a lot. Now, if you want to mature your use of that solution and make it really, really valuable, if you're not maximizing that 9 out of 10, if you're, say, at a 4 out of 10, you've got a huge delta improvement that you can leverage, and that's what we've done within this. So if I take that analogy a step further, and within digitally enabled projects and technologies, we've identified Revisto, and we said, actually, as part of this survey, we are using Revisto 4 out of 10. We do 4 out of 10 bloody well, but it's only 4 out of 10. What else can we unlock to get us closer to the 9? And that's what the 9 is. So in 2027, the 9 is what we're targeting. Now, that might sound a hell of a long way away, but you've got to remember that you've got an influx, so you've got a change of projects, you've got a change of personnel. You've got to tackle this piecemeal. You'll have heard all the sayings, don't eat the elephant, don't boil the ocean. Don't do any of those things. Tackle everything, take it as little sprints or medium-term sprints, set a goal, and then just reverse engineer it back to enable yourself to get the right answers, the right success points at the right time. And we've done that against all of our consistent stack. If I can just take a step back now, is the sound working on this thing? It doesn't sound like it. It's definitely not.
From how we wake up.
Is it just brief, right? Okay, I'll talk over this then, which is what you'll all love to hear. We released this video. Now, what this video is, it's just some very, very simple language about what is digital. Now, this is not necessarily, now this aspect here is digital on site, but what we were actually doing was we used this as our launch of a revised digital maturity strategy. And what I mean by that is we basically said, in your daily lives, outwith of construction, outwith of your working life, how do you use digital technology? Well, you check the weather on your phone. You probably use your phone for your alarm clock. You access a hell of a lot of information on your mobile phone. But it's not just that. You know, you go through ticketing booths, you book stuff online. All of these things are all just digital means, and it's all muscle memory. And what we tried to do with this video was to say, if you take that approach of muscle memory in your daily lives and you apply it to how you do your job now and how you go about things on site or in the office, what we'll start to do is we'll start to see a real change in our approach, and we'll see a real change in the questions that you're challenging us with in terms of functionality of solutions. So, you know, a really, really simple win we've had this year was to remove any sort of paper-based check sheet on site. Now you're probably thinking, holy hell, this is like almost historic. This is like medieval sort of chat that he's got here. But actually, I could go on a site now and I'd still probably find a guy squirreled away somewhere with his little A5 notepad, you know, looking over the brickwork like this, filling in a quality form. That we've completely tried to rule that out. Our target for the end of next year is to have a paperless site. So we want everything to be coordinated through a digital dashboard. All project information, tracking, carbon, cost, everything will be all sifted into a mission control dashboard, which I'll come on to in a sec. So this has jumped on before I've actually clicked a button, but if you can imagine that we've tried to do almost like a soft onboarding with our people. You can do the people side, and you can do one-to-ones, you can do engagement in person. That gets you so far, but you still do need the learning side. You need the educational, vocational piece. We've used Operum. We've been a partner of Operum now for about 3 or 4 years, but we've reviewed and we've refreshed the way that we apply the need for good information management, good process awareness through Operum. We've applied it by roles and function, and in the bottom right you can see that we've targeted specific roles. Those are the roles that deal with project information a hell of a lot. So in the last 2 years we've had 800 and odd people go through Operum and have been upskilled in their relevant roles. About 10% of those have ended up moving on and they've been certified practitioners of BIM according to ISO 19650, which is brilliant. Probably would prefer that to be closer to 30%, but that is what it is. I think the reason I put this up is it's good to challenge the way you do things, and it's good to, like, Operum works. Operum would work out the box. We didn't need to change it, but we have because we wanted to be more focused on our people, on our needs. And if you don't have that ability to be agile and be flexible and make things fit your organization, you're always going to be fairly stagnant. You're not going to be able to grow. And that's very much our mindset now in Kier, is we're trying to grow. We want more people. We're trying to attract better talent. And hopefully we'll do that. Another vocational piece is we have a data apprenticeship program. So this started last year. This graphic is heavily out of date, and I do apologize, but I just never got another one in time before this presentation. But we've now got about 120 people on module. Every 3 months we launch another cohort, so that's going to go up. Cohort's normally about 40 people, so we've had 3 so far. We'll be moving into number 4 in November of this year. And the idea here is to get people to think about the data and the information they use in their roles. This isn't just focused on BIM people, information management people, commercial people. This is focused on anybody. We've got people right the way from site engineers to tradesmen to our digital team to back of house to high-level commercial. We've got age range from about 22 to the oldest apprentice is 68 years old. We've done a really, really good job of making this applicable to everybody and giving everybody an opportunity. And I come back to this, what I sort of said about just a few minutes ago, around this idea that people are the most important. People are the embodiment of a business. If you don't have people working in the right way, working with one another, your culture's never going to change, and that is the challenge in an organisation as big as Kier, is to get the culture right, because once you get people who are starting to create the culture of digital first, they then change their own behaviours, they change the behaviours of those around them, and by changing those behaviours, that makes life easy for people like me, because I can just say, oh, I've got a solution for that over my shoulder, this will help you over there, this will help you over there, and that will actually help us be more efficient and be more productive. I promise I've only got a couple of more slides, you'll be pleased to know. Just going back to this idea of sort of like maturity and closing that delta down, something that we launched a few months ago was looking at our software utilization. So we have a core stack, so we have Procore for quality management, we have Revisto for issue management, we have A-Site as our CDE, we have BioSite as our access control, we have HoloBuilder as our capture, we use Matterport for as built, we've got a drone, we have an internal drone capability that we use. All of those things, we need to know how we're applying them on projects, because if we have all of those tools but they're only being used on 20 or 30% of schemes, we've done something wrong. So don't be afraid of all the red at the bottom, because this was 176 projects about 6 months ago when we weren't actually measuring, and we didn't have an autonomous link, so this was a manual process 6 months ago. What we've got now is an actually automated process. Every day, a report gets spat out the back end of one of our systems. It feeds into this dashboard and it tells us, is this tool on use? Is Procore being used for the right things? And we've defined, is Revisto being used for the right things that we've defined? And if it is, you get a green box. If it isn't, you get a red mark or an amber, and then you can go and address that. And you can then take that a step further, because when you go from solution-based utilization into the real granularity of information. We've connected, through Mortar, we've connected our CDE into Mortar, then pushed out a Power BI dashboard. This is fully interoperable. This can take you anywhere you want in the world, insofar as information management and information that's being provided on a project. And actually our next steps are, we're starting to harmonize that, and on the backbone of an IFC, so we now are doing a hell of a lot of upskilling. I mean, it'd be great to work with some supply chain who are already embedded and see IFC as the way forward. But we are now spending a lot of time, effort, and resource on upskilling our supply chain to give us IFCs that we can actually really do something with. We want to be able to have a more seamless and transient flow of information. We want to be able to look in one place and see lots and lots of different things. So, we've just unlocked the API between A-Site and Revisto. Sounds really, really complicated. It's not, but what it now does is, in Revisto, we can actually see the live drawings from A-Site overlaid on our 3D information. What a bloody simple thing, but boy, is it making a big impact on site. We've embedded a QR code on the bottom of a drawing. Somebody scans the QR code and it comes up in big red flashy lights. This is the wrong bit of information, don't use it. If it's the right bit of information, it's a big green tick, off you go, carry on and build. All of this stuff is it's digital simplicity, but it actually makes a difference, because people are now going out and building the wrong things. And I think just to sort of finish off, we've started, as I say, we've got IFC now as a backbone. We had been previously using Celebri as a validation tool, still are for some elements of fire and compliance, but actually where we're now getting to is we've built a Power App that allows us to lift and shift IFC data from a model and put it straight into a dashboard, and then we can actually access it from this dashboard. So I could go into this dashboard here, click on that 25.2%, which is complete, and find an object in there, and it would tell me exactly all the data that's compliant with our Kobe schema that's been requested from a client. Absolute game changer for us. To take Ian's point earlier, it's a 30-minute process. It probably used to be about a 2-week process. Absolutely massive. And just for final context, this is sort of the trajectory that we're going at. I alluded to it before, but mission control, this idea of digital mission control is going to be massive for Kier in the next year. And whilst we've sort of done a little bit on some of our strategic projects that are our incubators, our integrators for excellence, we're now going to be pushing into how do we get better with safety and quality and carbon and cost tracking. We're doing some wonderful things but it's in isolated pockets. You might have heard about a project, HMP Millsike over in York in the UK, £450 mega prison, and we're using a component tracking tool that's allowing us to track 110,000 precast, prefab units 19-step process. I probably should have included it in here. 19-step process from initial sketch on a page to installed and certified, and we know exactly where every single one of those 110,000 components are at any point in time, simply by accessing a live digital twin. Again, absolutely massive for us, because it's going to allow us to have more visibility on how we're building. And yeah, sorry, I could ramble on all day, but I'm conscious of time, and I think that there's probably some itchy feet, so I'll park it there. If there's any questions, you can grab me after, and I think we're going to have a chat later too. So yeah, cheers.